there's people that we think may not hurt us. Like, you see a kid and you not instantly thinking, oh my gosh, this person's gonna take a knife and what, do some harm to me, right? Because it's just a kid. But today we have a topic of kids that actually killed. Not just minor murders, but real, actual sadistic killings. Those are kids maniacs, kids serial killers. And the first one that's we're going to talk about is Paris Lee Bennett, a well-mannered, very charming boy that killed his own sister. The sister was 4 years old and he was 13 years old. And there was 17 knife stabs.
And this is Queen with Accent, and we're your hosts. And today we're talking about Psycho Kids, basically. One of my favorite subject. Why? Not because it's funny, haha, because for some reason we're smiling. But it's not funny at all. But because it's nature versus nurture, right? And it's always interesting to see where these people who are we always want to know what happened, right? We love this, we love crime stories, we love all of this, especially kids. Were they born with it? Did their parents give it to them? For example, with this guy, Paris Bennett, right?
Yeah.
His family wasn't bad. He was actually one of the few who grew up in pretty decent, according to whatever we heard, to all the stories, a pretty decent family. He wasn't abused. He wasn't, nothing bad happened to him. He wasn't bullied in school. In fact, he was very charming and still is. We shouldn't say was. Very charming, very intelligent boy who was gifted, still gifted, and the psychologists around the world try to figure out what happened to him. Where was the missing link? Where those wires clicked to make him to do what he did, right?
You know what? Sometimes there's nothing that clicks. It's just sometimes kids just evil can be really evil. And I'm not saying that all of them are, but of course when you listen to the stories of school bullyings and everything, you gotta understand that kids are humans. Human beings have emotions, sometimes very bad emotions, and sometimes they just get loose. And it might be a very good family with very caring parents that just let you do whatever you want, that just never says that you're wrong, that just, nurture you so much that you actually think that you can do whatever it is. And anything, like any minor thing that makes you angry can explode into a crime, a very heinous crime.
But I don't think it's just because parents let their kids to do what they want to do, just basically not giving them any discipline, will bring them to, as far as murder someone. For example, his sister, like I saw an episode of I told you of Law and Order, SVU, Special Victims Unit, and I think that was the story of this boy because there was a lot of similarities, and how he plans all of this and how much he hated basically his sister. I don't know how much of the truth was to that story. I noticed something, that there basically even amount of girls and boys in this age who do that, but when it comes to adults, they're basically all male. It's very rarely female. So do women change during their lifetime and grow out of these traits, or like what happens?
I think that the cases where kids actually killed and not just, not on a whim, but it was premeditated murders, I think are pretty rare. Kids can be cruel in other ways. They can bully, they can do some, bad things like to animals, and it's going out of record systems, so we don't know about these things anymore. But the murders, the actual murders, happen not that frequently, and that's why we can see, the cases, both cases, girls and boys, are pretty similar in quantities. when we're talking about grown-up murders, I think the aggression in males just it's a little bit more often than in women, and it
Mm-hmm.
just comes out. If we're talking about just the youngest serial killer that been recorded, it was the Indian boy named Amarjit Sada that actually started at the age of 8. Can you imagine yourself, like 8 years old, and this boy didn't see anything wrong? He first murdered his little cousin. He said it out loud that he did it. His parents asked him, and he said, "Yes, I did it because I thought it would be nice to see what's going to happen if I will do this and that." And parents decided not to say anything to anyone because, unfortunately, in India, just like in any other places, the life of a girl is
Cost
considered
less.
less. Yes, it's
Mm-hmm.
considered less than a life of a boy, and they decided not to ruin the boy's life. But he
Mm-hmm.
continued, and then he killed, the kid of a neighbor, and he also said that he did it. So that's when he got caught. But he
Mm-hmm.
was very calm, and when the police caught him, when the police came and just took him because there was no, it was no like his parents didn't hide him or try to prevent police from taking him. He was smiling and he was actually like saying something of the sort like he's hungry. What do you give? Will you give me some sweets and everything? So he was a kid, but this
Mm-hmm.
kid didn't have any remorse. He didn't have any empathy. And he actually was committed to murdering some other people because he was really curious of what's going to happen if I'm going to choke or stab or something like this. So this is, I guess, this particular case. It is a case of some mental illness because
Yeah, nature definitely something is not developed in the right direction. The empathy, the center of empathy, or the frontal cortex, even though it develops by the age of 25, but people in kids, they still have empathy. It doesn't matter. They don't grow up till 25, like murdering people left and right. Um, so I don't think we did that, and we, felt bad for injured animals and I know wars and stuff like that. But to not have empathy completely, have no consciousness, it's definitely
yeah,
pre-wired. People are
yeah,
pre-wired at birth.
yeah, but also parents were at fault here because after the first incident, they could just take care of it. They could not just
They
hide
could
him from
fall of a second
them.
murder, yes, for sure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I think that the realization that the murderer just didn't do anything wrong to his life, that he could continue living, laughing, eating sweets, and walking outside and doing whatever he wanted. It's not this family was not rich. It was a poor family from a poor village, so they were not rich people who wanted to just hide his precious son or something like this. But
Mm-hmm.
still, they decided that the life of a girl was not that important, and that the life of a boy is going to be much more valuable to the community and to this family. So they decided to just brush it under the carpet, and he understood that nothing's gonna happen to him, and he can continue.
Yeah, no consequences. Yeah, but the role and the position of the parents obviously is the most difficult one. Because okay, child, he was pre-wired like that, right? He had no emotions, no guilt. He wanted to do it. But parents, they're caught, a complete surprise and shock when their child does that, even if the child behaves badly. Parents just would think, it just, he's just a child. He will
Yeah,
change, he will overgrow and be a normal human being. And then your child, kills someone, and you love your baby. It's your baby,
yeah,
no matter what. And what do you do? Like, it's a
yeah. It's no matter what, but in this particular case, it's even worse because after the murders that he committed, he was sent to the prison. Uh, not for life. In 2016, he
Mm-hmm.
was released from the prison and now he's out there. And we don't know if he was, if any psychological program was forced upon
If
him,
he,
and if he actually
yeah,
takes any medicine for his for the situation that he's in. So we don't know. He just disappeared. He
I don't
vanquished.
think he would change with the medicine. I don't think any people
I mean,
would change with this medicine.
yeah, well, I mean, now he's out there, and you don't know. And of course, I understand that there's a lot of people in India. He may be even not in India. Maybe he went abroad. But the point is, he was an 80-year old, yes. But in 2016, he was released, and now he's out there, and we don't even know like what would happen. And
Yeah.
his parents are still going to think that his life is more important than the lives of the other people.
Probably. It's the same as Charity Bennett. Well, maybe not exactly the same, but it was for her. It was they're both for her children, right? Her daughter and her son. And her son's kills her daughter, and she still when he was arrested, and then he did bunch of interviews. He became pretty famous at his time. It was like I think it was like 2007 or something. She kept saying, I love him, I love him, he's my child. But obviously she didn't stop for him from being arrested and going to jail. But how I don't know where you could be one of your child is murdered, but your another child and your second child, oldest child, is in prison for murdering your child. It's crazy, like emotionally crazy. But I look at her pictures; she looks pretty composed and happy now with another partner, I guess. So she didn't fall apart or anything, which is probably shouldn't, right? Um,
And as just for a record, this person is still in jail, as I recollect, right?
he's still serving.
Yeah,
He's still
yeah, that's
serving, and but he's eligible for parole in 2027. So basically, he's serving 20 years. His sentence is going to be finished in 2047, but he's eligible to be released in 2027, just in a year.
yeah.
Um, he has when he gave interview, he had a lot of violent thoughts and violent feelings that he shared with his interviewers, and he's one of the strongest nature arguments because of how he talks and how he manipulates people and all of that. He's actually is there's a show actually. My Child is a Killer. I need to see it's on IMDb, and where his story is also told.
Okay.
It's not such a rare case, and we know that. But talking about nature and nurture in girls and boys, and if people and they know what to do, if they do exactly like he knew what he did. 13. But another young child, and you were also talking about, mention her, is Mary Bell, right? A girl who was only 10, but she's a girl, and you would say, oh, girls, they dress girl dolls and pink and go with strollers.
I've
But Mary Bell wanted to kill. She wanted to
Yeah,
know how it
I watched a
feels.
documentary about her, and the way it was described that she was very composed, very calm, and she actually knew what she was doing, and she was doing this on purpose. That was a
Yes.
premeditated murder, and she wanted to feel how it is to take someone else's life. And yeah, and when I've seen her, photos when she was a kid, she reminded me so much of Alice from Alice in Wonderland, the real one, because of this short haircut and dark hair, and
Uh-huh.
the similarities between the two were pretty obvious in how they appear for me, and it was even more horrifying for me actually because you actually cannot even think that such a sweet child would do something like that.
But what's interesting to me was also that she actually came back, like real serial killers in movies. She actually went back to the murder scene and asked questions. So it's a real, true psychopath. There's not even a question about, even though she was abused, all of that. A lot of kids are abused, but they don't go that far, is taking lives. So there's the children, but most importantly, going back to the murder scenes and trying to investigate and see what's happening.
Yeah, but she was smart because she understood that she couldn't take care of someone bigger than her, and that's why she, actually she cherry picked her victims, like 4-year-old boy, a 3-year-old. So she actually knew the limits of her physiques. She
Mm-hmm.
wasn't calculating risks that she was taking when she was, she was thinking about murdering someone. It's not like she saw someone and decided, whatever, I'm going to just,
Yeah, the opportunity crime. Yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
it was nothing like this. It was pretty
Mm-hmm.
much. I think that she was thinking about this. I think that that makes her even scarier than most of them.
Yeah,
Even scarier doesn't that that Indian boy, because he's definitely not right in his mind, and I don't even think so. I think that she is so cold and calculated that if she would be growing, if she grew up, doing this, we don't even know how many victims uh
yeah.
she could.
She would have, yeah. It was very, very premeditated. And just imagine, right? You're living with your neighbors, and there's a next girl neighbor, the sweet girl with ponytails, and she says hi to you every day and says, "How are you, ma'am?" But all she's thinking about is how to like chop your head off or something, and that's
Yeah,
crazy.
yeah, we of course we have to tell that her own story was not that good, because her mother, she was a sex worker, and it's been said that her mother actually decided that Mary Bell should also work in this field, and she kind of forced this style of life onto Mary, like from 4 years old. So there's a tons of things that that
Still doesn't make you a
yeah, it does
murder.
not, it does not make you a murderer. And of course, you can say that she became murderer just because of this, and that's why we have to pardon her. No, but to the point of, what's the point where a person's a child's mind becomes so broken that this child decides that, I'm gonna do whatever I want, and I'm going
Yeah,
to.
and it's gonna be fun. Not because somebody bothered her, like that 3 years old child was like making fun of her, making like bullied her or something. No, he was just living his 3-year-old life, playing in a ball, trying to learn how to speak, getting out of diapers.
She was pretty violent to other kids, and there's been records that she was fighting and biting people and scratching them. So she had to take her aggression out somewhere, and that's how she decided to, take care of it, I guess.
Yeah, I remember now. I had a friend, and I don't think she's watching the podcast, but if she is, no ill feelings. But when our kids were young, we had a lot of play dates, and I'm not gonna say a lot about her kids, but let's say they were different genders and a little bit different ages. A little bit younger than my kids, and one of her kids was, I remember when they were fighting all the time, but that's one story. At one occasion we went somewhere, and she went to her play date, and she went to the bathroom, and I watched her kids, and one of her youngest was basically started hitting me out of nowhere, just started hitting me with his her fists, and I'm like, what are you doing? Like, you cannot do this. And the child was just laughing. And her other child, also not gonna say the gender or anything, playing with my girls. And well, first they had drawing together, and her children basically took my kids' drawing and started tearing in pieces and laugh. And my kids started crying because it's their artwork. And another occasion, one of the kids hit my child with a wooden board on her head, and I'm like, I didn't want to like see them anymore, because like to me it was, first of all, they were managing injuring my children's feelings, hurting my children's feelings, and second, they could physically harm my children. And I'm like, I don't know where they are now. They're a year or two younger than my kids. What are they doing? I don't think they became like murder or something. But like, how did it happen? Because they didn't have a good family dynamic between husband and wife, but they, as far as I know, they didn't abuse the kids, and the family had money and they traveled a lot. So,
Maybe that was
like,
because they could do whatever they wanted. Maybe because the entitlement of the family, played.
she didn't say, the mother didn't say anything when her child hit my child on the head with the wooden board. And I'm like,
That's what I was thinking.
are you joking? Like, she could basically split her head if the board was heavier.
It is
And
do you remember, I don't know if you know that we have, the sayings in Russian, how we call those little kids. Сыночка, присыночка, сыночка,
mhm,
корзиночка. Вот,
mhm.
вот все
For
подобное.
boys, right? Like sweet
Yes,
talking,
for
like baby
boys.
talking to
Yes,
boys.
yes, but also you can apply it for girls too. But because of the mothers of boys here in Russia, they're known to be a little overbearing, and they think that their little precious boys cannot do anything, tie their own shoes, and boil an egg for themselves, and it continues to the adulthood. And sometimes it's just so crazy that yeah, we're saying this about those people, and the
Yeah.
entitlement of those little boys and them become grown-up men, or just
But
oh,
also, like, most of us, we don't learn things from like just people telling us. Obviously, we need to be told things as a kids because we don't know difference, right? The kids don't know difference. But also, we learn from examples. I don't like. I didn't grow up in a strict family, like at all, and I was never punished. Nothing like that. And you also weren't. But somehow we don't, kill anyone. We don't hurt anyone. And the
what's
complete
that?
opposite.
I wasn't punished, but I knew the consequences, is gonna be in my life if I do something very, very wrong. And I knew that I couldn't lie, I couldn't steal, I couldn't hurt people, because that was bad things. My mother and my father,
So you understood this, and probably these kids understood
they
too.
actually taught me that this is a very bad thing. Do you remember this Russian poem «Крошка сын к отцу пришел и спросила: Кроха, что такое хорошо и что такое плохо?»
What is
That's
bad
very
and what is good? The poem, yes.
yeah, yeah. So I mean, parents should have a saying in what their kids do. That's what I was, talking about previously when we were considering like how just a little normal kid can become a murderer. So
Yeah.
this is the
But I didn't even like, wouldn't think like I was a child to hit someone with a
because you were
stick or
normal.
board.
Yeah,
Well,
you were normal.
exactly. Like, what do they learn on exam? Like, where does it come? The feeling of, for example, the desire to take somebody's child artwork, for example, tear it in pieces and laugh at
Yes.
it, or like somebody like built a sandcastle. Remember, and somebody would go by and step on it. Like, where does it come from? It's not an example, or is it?
Maybe it is an example in the family. Maybe it's something that the when a child tries the boundaries, like what I will get if I'll do this. Would I be beaten if I will do that? Would I stand on a corner в углу в темном, носом в угол, if I'm gonna do that? Like
Yeah,
what
will
kind
I
of
get time out? Will I be punished basically if I
yes,
do
yes,
something?
yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Um,
And would there be any even harsher consequences if I would do something? Would my parents hide something I did because they don't want people to know that I'm a bad kid? Because
but you also,
sometimes
yeah, but you also have to have something in your head and be something in your character to actually have a desire to try these boundaries, to try to extend. Like I never like wanted to try those and where how far I want to go. Like, and most people don't. But so it's something in the characters, again talking about nature and nurture. Something in the character in the beginning, right, when they want to
Yes.
go and push those boundaries and see what happens. And yeah, because otherwise, yes, the other people look at the example. A lot of kids are being abused, and we know that hundreds and thousands of kids are each day are abused, and
Yes, but
some become
sometimes when your parent tells you that you can do no wrong, there's it just sticks to you, and there's this thought that you can do whatever you want, and it's not going to be considered wrong. Maybe that's when it also shapes the you know the child, the personality.
But see now what the way we grew up, even though we're single child, only children, you and I,
Yeah.
we grew up a little bit. We're not exactly a very strict household. We were, we grew up in a warm house. Parents cherished us and everything. But other kids were in more strict houses, especially in Soviet Union. There's kids who I hear they never heard the word "love you," from their parents, and they were very strict, and they were always even they got like A+, for example, in school, their parents would say, oh, could
Yeah.
be a top double plus or something like this. It was different, but now we're talking about gentle parenthood, and
Oh.
well, in Russia it's not popular, but for generation name like Gen X, Gen Z, Gen Millennials. Now in America it's millennials, raised Generation Z, and Gen Z. And I'm talking about young millennials, like probably like 90s, right? Early 90s,
I
late
wouldn't
80s.
say I wouldn't say that gentle parenting is not popular in Russia, and I'm afraid that it's getting
Yeah,
popular.
that's what I think. That even though it's not no millennials names, it's still the style of parenting change
It's awful.
in all countries.
It's awful because I see videos where a very very young child, doesn't have anything like any ounce of respect for an older
Adults,
person.
yeah.
And not just because, some grandpa or grandma decides to teach him a lesson and say, you're a bad boy. You have to do what No, it's like they're punching, they're screaming, they're throwing things and, doing something very horrible things. And when a grown up tells them to just shut it because, they not even scared to answer him. They're not even scared to just come to him and confront them. This is something
Yeah.
that they've been not taught in the household. And the cases that I'm seeing are very extreme sometimes. And in Russia, like Russian cases and American and European cases. And it is very interesting because like in China, we have the cult of children, right? China, in Japan, and up to the certain age, they can do whatever they want. Like they're cherished there. But after a certain age, they start, working. They have to study, and to study like
Mm-hmm.
till the their eyes bleed because they have to read, they have to understand, they have to do math and this and that. And
Mm-hmm.
even though they had this freedom of doing whatever they wanted, like to a certain age, I don't see such cases like from Asia. Because
Yeah.
the gentle parenting, it is actually parenting, because it has two words, gentle and parenting. But sometimes it feels like modern parents just forget that they have to parent their children. They have to teach them. They have to, you know, um, punish them sometimes. I don't see anything wrong with this. I'm not saying that they have to just grab the kid and beat the shit out of it, but
Just the
punishment
time,
is
give the child time
it's not
out.
just physical. Yes, it's not just physical.
Yeah,
And you know
that
what?
yeah.
If we're talking right now about parents, do you remember the very famous movie by Oliver Stone, Natural Born Killers, of course, with Woody Harrelson, and uh, it actually had the prototypes. So
It's a good
Carol
movie. It's a very good movie.
very good movie.
Amazing
Kevin
movie.
and Charles Starkweather. She was 14 and he was 19. and they actually met when she was only 13 years old. They met through her sister. She was dating his friend, and when Charles actually met Carol, everyone said that he fell in love madly, instantly.
Mm-hmm.
This was the feeling that consumed him, and he was pretty he was a troubled kid because he was fighting. He had some, some altercations with the grown-ups and kids and this.
Mm-hmm.
And he was not from a rich family. He was not from a famous family, and of course, he wasn't, the healthiest boy around. And of course, like her parents, they didn't like him. They didn't like anything that happened between them. He wanted to shower her with gifts. He dropped out of school. He went to work just to have money to buy her things like plushes, some jewels, some makeup. And he was saying something like they're living like a man and a wife, and she's even pregnant with this child, like she was 13. And of course, her parents just decided to stop it, and they decided that's not gonna be, the continuation of the story. Those two lovebirds need to be separated. But everything started when Charles decided to buy a new plushie for his princess. He was calling her princess.
Mm-hmm.
And he didn't have any money, and the credit in the shop was closed for him, and the shop owner just didn't sell him this plushie. And he was so enraged because his princess is not going to get what she wanted. And she wanted a lot of things. She was a spoiled 13-year-old girl that,
Yeah.
had this boy that would do anything for her. And of course, she wanted this and that, and, she always got it. And he was so mad because of this that he actually took a gun and
Mm-hmm.
went back to to this shop and just and shot this person. And everything escalated very, very fast after this, because he killed this man on the 30th of November
Mm-hmm.
1950. And on the 21st of January next year, 1958, he
Mm-hmm.
decided to just, talk with her parents. He
Mm-hmm.
took a gun, the same gun that I think that he killed the shop owner with. And he went to her home, and then he killed her parents. He was saying something that they attacked him, that they wanted to stab him, that, there was some brawl in the house, and he was just defending himself. But all the experts say that it's not true, that he just cold heartedly and cold bloodedly just murdered her parents. And what's even worse, she had a younger sister. And this younger sister, she was just a baby sister. And they
Mm-hmm.
beat her to the death while she was in her little bed, because Carol decided that she doesn't want to have any little sister like anymore.
Mm-hmm.
They took
Yeah.
care
A
of blood.
psychopath as well. She's a psychopath. She was a psychopath.
Yeah, they took care of blood. They hid the corpses of her parents, and they lived in this house for over a week together, like a family, like a man
Yeah.
and a wife. And they
Mm-hmm.
put a little sign on the front door saying that this house is in quarantine because someone has flu. So when they got caught, because they had, they went on a killing spree after this. When they got caught, she told everyone that she was manipulated, that she was also a victim because she was too young to understand whatever. But I think that
Right.
yeah, right. Yeah, that's my reaction to this. But I think
Mm-hmm.
that in my personal, my personal thoughts, that she was the instigator. I don't think that she would do like any more killings without her. I think that she was the instigator, and she was manipulating him, and she was only 14 years old. 14.
Yeah.
She's not a kid, okay, she's a teenager, but that's a girl who got rid of her parents baby sister, and a bunch of other people, actually.
It's a crazy story, and uh, that's also, you see, like, how did it happen, where that come, how did they find each other, even, right, to be in the same mindset, because one person doing this, it's one thing, but when somebody else joins you in this journey, fascinating journey, and does the same things and thinks it's okay, that's a different story.
They killed
Well,
11 people. 11 people. And when she told to the, detectives that she was like a hostage in all the situation, and she didn't have any saying in this, but everything, she even told him not to kill every person they meet, that they have to kill someone rich because they would get money. What kind of a
mhm,
hostage would do that, right? Even if you
right.
got manipulated, you would just sit straight and afraid to bark. But this particular girl, I think that
Or
she
just
really,
leave the person, say, like, you know what, that's not for me. Yeah.
yeah.
But
So in 1958, Charles was committed to on a he was on a death row, and he appealed, but the appeal got denied. He didn't have to wait for his execution for long. In 1958, he went to, I think, bum, 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 yeah, electric chair. He was electrocuted, and like, I think that he's waiting for his princess in hell or whatever, right?
yeah, good radiance, as they say. Um, Good radiance. I was fascinated. I have to self plug here. I have to self plug. But my most popular. Sorry, I'm sorry for beforehand. But it's just because I take everything through me and through my mind all the time when I write my books, and I was fascinated with this subject so much that one of my most popular and controversial books, Mean Girl, was basically about it. And the girl is 15. She was supposed to be 8 in my original idea, but then I thought that's the one line of the story, and line about finding someone, finding a partner in your crime, it was not going to work at 8, so I changed her age to 15.
Mhm.
But and that's a girl, because she started doing this stuff because she was bullied, and then it's escalated, and that was a twist. There's a lot of twists and turns, and basically everything parents and what parents go through, and how the basically person who you will find on your way turns into this character, and becomes what you are or they are, because maybe there was something initially, right? And I think we all have something initially, and as little kids we're all fascinated with something. I remember I was, it's interesting for me, but was to watch like the Squish and the Bugs when I was little. I wouldn't go to like Squish and anything else bigger than Bugs, right? But I don't know if it was fascinating for you or not, but it was maybe like it was 4 or something. I don't know. But obviously after that I was like, if somebody squished the box, I would be crying. Like after a certain age, it turned the opposite. Like I was feeling bad for everything that was alive. But maybe it's that's curiosity doesn't go away if it's, for example, we're all natured, born with this dark side, and somebody gets in your life who will pull it out, right? Like in this
Maybe.
case that you were talking about in the movie. Maybe he would never do anything like this if he would meet this girl and he would pull out this dark side and his curiosity, and maybe he did it because for her,
Maybe he
because he
would,
was
yeah,
curious,
maybe he
who
would,
wanted,
yeah, maybe he would end up like a mild abuser. Maybe he would do drugs or something like. We don't know, of
yeah, maybe
course.
self harm, even not like harming others.
Because, like, if you remember, there's another movie and another couple that we're going to talk about is Julia Hume and Pauline Parker. And also, they have a movie based on their story. And in this
What is
movie,
that?
«Небесные создания». Сейчас скажу, как по-английски называлось.
Oh, yeah, 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 yes. Yeah.
We bum bum bum. Heavenly Creatures.
I haven't watched the movie, but I heard so much about it.
Yeah, but the movie is really good. The movie is also it builds the tension.
No, that one I watched it. I watched that one.
Yes.
Yes,
They were not
the girls,
violent.
two
They
girls.
were,
Yes, okay.
yes.
Mm-hmm.
They had fantasies. They had friendship. They actually wanted to become something. They wanted to live not in this reality because this reality sucked, because one of the girls, she had some troubles with lungs, and the other had their pretty strict mother. What happened when they've been told that they're going to be separated? They
Yeah,
decided
yeah,
that the best thing to do was to actually get rid of parents, and they successfully, if we can say that way, got rid of one girl's parent, of mother. They lured her into
yeah,
the like woods or something like
yeah,
this,
yeah.
and they crushed her
Desert.
stomach with a rock. Yeah, with a rock. This was the only murder that they committed. They wanted to continue with the other parents, but they couldn't. And what's even more peculiar in the story, that the punishment was that they couldn't even talk to each other, never again. They couldn't write to each other. They couldn't have any contact with each other. And based on
Mm-hmm.
what we know, one of the girls, she actually became a very successful and very famous novelist, and she writes about crime.
Of
So
course.
now, yeah, and now you can actually read the books by Anne Perry, and that's Julia Hume. So,
Mm.
um,
Interesting.
yeah,
Yeah,
so
well, they sometimes they say do writers are psychopaths, or they do stuff to write it, like in the Basic Instincts, for example. Well, people, I did not do personally any of those stuff, okay? Because people question, is that writer is crazy, is disturbing. No, I haven't done anything like that,
show me your
but I
hands. Show me your hands. I think you're doing something like this.
do I put myself through the character and try to imagine how it feels? Yes, of course. And that's how you basically try to write characters. That is true. Writers have a different imagination. You can imagine things. You can put yourself through the situations. And right now, I was younger when I wrote it, and now I'm like thinking, could I write this again? Could I do it second time to go? Because I'm disattached. I do think about the character, but I'm disattached at the same time. Like I think what she felt this, and she her when she was doing this, actions. Uh, and you
Just
have
like
to put yourself in this hat, but right now, like, I don't want to do that,
yeah.
because I don't think I can disattach right now with age. It's strange, because I could disattach when I was younger. Now I feel like I'm guilty when I'm doing it. When I'm thinking these thoughts, which is
Yeah.
weird.
They put themselves, like into the heads of the characters that they're playing, and
Yes,
this character is a violent criminal or psychopath or maniac. Sometimes it's really,
reliving that. Yeah, but that's
yeah.
like, it makes
Sometimes
me feel guilty
it's
just
hard
thinking.
to just move on, and to just like brush off this person that they were
You
acting
have
as.
to, yes, you have to disattach, but somehow it's I don't know how actors, they also have to do the same thing, and relive the life through, to act certain characters to get that Oscar, because that's how well you play the characters. But no one says that actors are crazy, but they always all say that writers are crazy because they create these things.
They created. That's the main thing here.
That's the main
So
thing, yeah.
yeah, so we were talking about girls now, right?
Yeah, and let's some
Yeah.
yeah.
But there's also a couple of boys, and this is much more sinister. John Vanabus and Robert Thompson. Yeah, they had the sentence of, life in prison, even though they were minors when they committed their crimes. And the
Mm-hmm.
crime that they committed, the whole Britain just went into full shock. Um, in February of 1993, a mother of 2-year-old James Bulger,
Mm-hmm.
she just left her kid outside when she went to some like meat shop to get some meat, and she didn't even think that something can be wrong, because I think that she was doing this pretty often, and she didn't feel any, she didn't feel threatened in this area. She didn't think that anything so heinous could be happening to her kid, and she didn't even think that she was, seeing her son for the last time, because no one can think things like this. But
You know that my story was happened in a meat shop, right? In a butcher
yeah,
shop.
yeah. Okay, so these two boys, John and Robert, they saw this little kid, and they were doing what they were doing best. They were just shoplifting, they were stealing stuff because they were pretty like young criminals, I think. And
Mm-hmm.
so these two boys decided that they would kidnap this little boy, and they would tell everyone that he just got lost, and they would be heroes because they would just bring him back, and everyone's gonna love them for this. They're gonna give them money, or they're gonna be famous. So something went really wrong after this, because they took this little boy on the railroads, and they were doing some bad things to him. They were kind of like mocking him. They were throwing stones. They were saying bad things to him, and then it escalated even more because they started beating him. They took some iron like stake or something like this, and they beat him, this little boy, this 2-year-old boy, so much that if it kind of felt like they understood that he's not going to survive. And what they did next, actually, I can't even say that they assaulted this little boy, and put his body, I don't even know if he was still alive after this. um they put his body on a railroad, just
Mm-hmm.
hoping that people would find him and think that this was something happened with a train, and this little boy just wandered on this in this place and
Right.
didn't see the train coming or whatever. But
Crazy.
the train actually hit this body, but the medical examiner, he said that the boy was already dead when the train happens. So what when was this, the moment when the prank of kidnapping a kid and then become a hero by giving him back to his mother, went from this to a full-blown assault and murder?
Yeah. 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 It's insane. Um, it's a crazy story, and but they were teenagers. So what I noticed, the Indian boy was the rare case
Yeah.
when a child didn't reach puberty yet when they started doing those stuff, right? But most kids are 12, 13, basically preteens or teens. When they reach puberty, kids reach puberty, like something obviously we know all of this, the teenager change and they act crazy and all of that, because the brain develop with a fascinating speed, and it goes in all directions, and you never know where it will end up. Most kids obviously they go through this stage and they become normal adults, but most kids uh, don't survive, and don't mean like physically survive, don't mentally survive, and they end up in prisons and all of that. And but does this part, why this age, is it also nurture or nature? And it's where the kids from abused families actually start testing the grounds for
Yes.
their
Yeah.
anger to come out.
Yeah, I think, but the puberty, when puberty hits, characters of kids changed drastically. And my friend, she has a kid, and she was always saying that she was the sweetest little girl, but when she hit puberty, that was just kind of like a little monster, because she was saying rude things to her mother, and she was saying to her father, like, oh, it's gonna be really good when mother is not with us anymore. Like,
Mm-hmm.
nothing was actually wrong with the family. Nothing was happening between mother and father, and parents were shocked because they couldn't even understand where it was coming from. It ended, and it ended good. Like, nothing happened. But she was, for a moment, she was like a really bad, cruel monster. And
Mm-hmm.
parents didn't know
What if
what to
she would
do.
become so angry that actually not saying it with words, but actually
Hormones,
acting
yes,
on it? Yeah.
hormones hit her very hard, and I think that changed her so much. Like, we also have cases of where 14, 13-year-old people, kids, they commit one murder, then they caught, and this is a murder. It feels like they exploded inside, right? And they couldn't
Yeah.
take their anger anywhere else. Like Joshua Phillips, who actually was 14 when he murdered his neighbor. His mother, she was taking care of his stuff in the room, and she was cleaning up his room, and she found a wet spot under the under his water bed, and she was like thinking maybe it's leaking, and she has to take a look at it, and she
Mm-hmm.
found a little spot where it was taped. And can you imagine the horror of a person, of a mother,
Yeah.
that she finds the body of missing 8-year-old girl
Yeah.
inside her son's
Okay.
mattress?
I can't even. Yeah. What does she do as a mother, right?
Yeah, he told everyone that it was an accident. He accidentally hit her very hard on the head, and he didn't know what to do, and she started to scream, and he was panicking, and he then just grabbed her, dragged her into his room, and decided to just silence her by beating her up completely, and that's how she died. And then he didn't know what to do, because he had a body, and he didn't he didn't think anything better just to put a body inside his bed.
Well, but
This even
he knew it was
even saying
bad.
this makes
Obviously,
you.
he wasn't intelligent enough to like actually get rid of it, but he knew it was bad, and he would be punished for it probably. So it wasn't like he's like completely, stupid
Yeah,
and didn't know what he did at all. Um, yeah. Wow. Crazy.
there's a lot of other kids, very cruel kids like Eric Smith, and you have to remember him. He's this redhead
Yeah.
with glasses. Yeah, he killed a 4-year-old, and also we have some other kids, um,
Yeah.
like a
He was
Victorian
13 as
one.
well. He was also 13. So
Yeah,
yeah. But,
like a Victorian era kid. Jesse Pomeroy, he was 11 when he started his murder spree, and he actually died of a pretty old age. He was about 70, and he was pretty smart, and he was just evil because he was trying to find his victims. He was binding them, he was torturing them, he was he used some needles and little knives,
mhm.
not to kill the person instantly. He was
Yeah.
prolonging his
That's a psychopath right there.
yeah, yes, that's true, that's true. So
Yeah.
he actually got released, um because he was behaving good, from the prison. And it's a
Mm-hmm.
very interesting thought also, like a kid tortured and murdered people, but he behaved himself in a prison, that's why he was released. And after he was released, of course he didn't stop there, because he kidnapped and killed a 10-year-old girl, and
Mm-hmm.
also people said that he actually murdered also a 4-year-old boy.
Yeah.
And Could this be avoided? Yes, but
Yeah. Yeah, we don't know. But could it be avoided or not? There's one story that's probably well, because we're running on 1 hour. Even we took a little bit time to warm up, but there's one story that is probably positive, on more positive side, that things could be changed, and it's a story of Beth Thomas, and it's a famous story. She's a lot on YouTube. This girl, she was 6 actually when she was admitted, and she was, when you watch, I don't know if you could watch the interviews or not. She was like a cute little sweet girl, and she was talking about torturing animals and wanting to hurt people like it was something, like drinking water or breathing air, and she didn't do anything. Hmm? She was 6, yes. She shows signs of disturbing sexual behavior and all of this. She was an abused child, and she was very, very cold. When you watch her videos, it's like, wow, obviously there's a murderer right there. But then it was a documented therapy session. It's a session. You can watch it on YouTube. It's out there. But apparently she got therapy at that age, and she got better, to the point that she is a normal, absolutely normal, a human being, a woman, adult woman. She's have her foundation, she helps other people, other children. She managed to change. So in her case, obviously it was nurtured, right? She was just an abused child, and she didn't know how to be emotional, how to be empathetic, because she never received love. She didn't know how to love and be loved. And when she received the therapy, she changed. So it is possible when it's like nurtured, and when you got it on time, I guess, and when it's not, doesn't have an opportunity, when a child doesn't have an opportunity to try all those things that she dreamed about. But I don't think it's possible when it's natured. I don't think it's possible to change a person who's just wired differently.
yeah. Well, let's end with the story from Russia. All right.
Oh, yeah. You told me about it. Let's do that. Yes.
Yes. Because I mean, we talked about India, we've talked about America.
America, yes. Yes, let's do that. Mm-hmm.
Let's talk about Russia. I don't know any cases where, just very young kids did this, but we had this case where teenagers got very famous for being банда молоточников, иркутские молоточники, академовские маньяки.
The gang of hammerers.
Yeah, the Hammer Band. The Hammer Band.
The hammer band. Okay.
Yeah, because they were actually crushing skulls of their victims with hammers. And
Wonderful.
yeah, these were two boys, Nikita Lytkin and Artem Anufriev. It's not like they had bad families or good families. They had just families. It's not like they had bad schools or good schools. They had just schools. Nothing extremely, wrong happened.
They were just regular kids.
Just
with regular families.
Yeah, you can just watch outside and you would see, a person with the same upbringing, and nothing, would scare you because of how he looks. But these two boys, they were cruel persons that were excited about crimes, excited about torture, excited about killing intent, about horror they would see in the eyes of their victims, because they were, they were in love with the maniacs, Pichushkin, and of course Chikatilo.
Those are famous Russian serial killers.
Very famous Russian serial killers, and they even, had this saying in on the social media of Russian social media, ВКонтакте, Chikatilo наш президент. Chikatilo is our president. So they wanted to be even more famous than these two. they wanted even more victims on their list than these two. They wanted to become a historically, biggest maniacs out there. They
Mm-hmm.
someone was saying that they were actually like in the Nazi bands, neo Nazis, because the skinheads. We have the saying skinheads. It was after 90s when we had these bands, criminal bands that were kind of like disbanded, I would say,
Mm-hmm.
and a lot
Mm-hmm.
of very cool people were kind of left alone. They didn't know what to do with themselves. They had a lot
Okay.
of free time. Yeah, and they
Mm-hmm.
they made this thing like skinheads. So these two boys, some people say that they were in the skinheads, but actually, one of the leaders of the skinheads said that no, we don't claim them. Can you imagine? Even one of the leaders of the very criminal bands, like skinheads, said that we don't claim them. How
Yeah.
bad those boys could be. So,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. So these two were just a normal boys that decided that they don't want a normal life, and their excitement and love for murders and maniacs
This is the fascination.
made
Their
so much
fascination with
sense.
violence. Violence, just
Yes,
basically
made so much sense that the only thing that they were thinking about is just how to, the victim
harm other people.
bigger.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, of
Yeah.
course they are in prison. One of them committed. He self deleted. Well, I don't think that anyone actually, cares about it,
Yeah.
because these two were just sobs, and I'm not going to police my language because
Again, how did they find each other? How did they find this?
they
That's
were just
like-minded, and they want to do
yeah, they
that.
were just members
How
of
do you
documentary.
say other person, I want to kill someone, and you're okay with that? Like, you have to be on the same vibe.
You have
I
to
don't
be
know.
in
So,
tune. Yes, you have to be in tune with the other person. And what I've seen that they didn't even hide, because they were, posting photos with hammers. They
mm-hmm.
were, and those photos look really disturbing. It's not like they're having, victims around them. They were just like laying on the roof or something like that with holding a hammer. So they were showing like everyone what they're about to do, but no one see
Yeah.
any sign. No one
Yeah.
no one thought that these two boys would be the people who actually killed other people.
Yeah. Who actually would do something that's horrific? Yeah, insane. Like, again, was it nature? Was it nurture? Would something change if an adult, influential adult, would appear in their life and talk about something?
Because one of them, Artyom Anufriev, he was having some good grades. He was doing he went to a musical school, and he was playing guitar and contrabass, and he was actually singing in some local band. He had some good people around him. He had some good
So obviously, his parents and his mother, mostly because his mothers, took care of him and tried to give him a good life, a good opportunities, good experiences. But his only interest was not in musical instruments. It was actually stuffing there somebody's health in the head in that musical
Actually,
instrument, maybe.
his mother, she didn't want him to be friends with the other boy, Nikita, because she
Yeah.
told everyone that that would be a very bad influence.
Yeah. I think we should do part two and part three, and maybe let's do part two and talk about more about the stories and just take general stories. And maybe we'll find someone in Asia, because we can find anything in Asia, because we mostly see American cases because it's just more open. People just more talk about it. It's more outside, and maybe
More
other
open
cases
and
just
more, yeah, and more people just talk about it, and there's a lot of documentaries and everything. But I'm sure that every continent and even every country have their own psycho kids.
yeah. Do you think other
That's
some nations are kinder than others? I don't know if because we don't hear something from Asia. It doesn't usually was that people are kinder.
Yeah, I think that every country have their own psycho kids. On that note, I think that we're gonna wrap it up. So we are.
Yes, yes, and
Please subscribe, hit the bell, and hit like, and maybe you will tell us what do you think about murder kiss. do you remember some of these stories that we didn't mention here? Maybe you know some stories from Asia, maybe you know some stories from, like, I don't know, from Africa or something like
Maybe
this.
your neighbors, maybe your neighbor. Yeah, it happens, right?
But no one has, yeah, I hope no one has such a neighbor among them. So
But if you do, let us know and maybe we'll talk about it on the show.
yeah. So
Okay.
bye bye, and to the next time.
See you next time, guys. Bye bye.